It is the end of November, or close to it, and I'm still out here kayak fishing. The only thing that lets me do this is my dry suit. This is the NRS Spin semi-dry suit. What makes it a semi-dry suit, you ask? It's the gaskets. A semi-dry suit has neoprene gaskets, whereas a full dry suit has latex gaskets. That is the topic for another video, because in this video, I'm going to show you how I get my Spin semi-dry suit on by myself without anybody to help me do up this zipper in the back. Because a lot of dry suits have a rear entry system, and sometimes if you don't have a buddy to help you zip up, it can be challenging. But I figured it out how to do it on my own. I'm going to show you how to get into it. But first, we got to talk about the feet. Because it is a dry suit, it's got little booties attached to the legs, and you don't want to be standing on these booties bare onto the rocks. I mean, it's pretty tough material, Gore-Tex, but still, every little bit of wear and tear that you can save on your dry suit will help it keep its longevity and keep it from damaging and keep you from having to replace it. Because even though I got this one on sale for more than half off over at my friends at Frontenac Outfitters, they're still not cheap, and you want them to last as long as possible. So I'm going to show you some little tricks that I do to get my dry suit on without damaging it and by myself. So the first thing is I keep in my truck always this empty cardboard box. So now when I'm putting my dry suit on, I'm getting my feet in those booties before I put my NRS boundary boots on, which are also waterproof. I can step on this with the booties, and this saves me from damaging them from all these rocks and potentially putting a hole in the feet of my dry suit. While I don't plan on taking a dunk in the water, what I often do is wade into the water up to like close to the top of my boots, just to get my kayak in and out of the water. And if some water gets into the boot, I don't want that water to then seep into my feet, because then my feet are going to be cold and I'm going to have a really bad day on the water. So I'm going to show you. Put the cardboard down, take all the stuff out of my pockets. I also take my watch off because I'll put it back on after. But for now, I want to make sure I take my watch off. I don't want this to catch on anything on the dry suit and then potentially create a tear or put extra stress on any of the seams or material that I don't need to. Get my boots out there, get them ready to go. Now I can just take my shoes off, step on this cardboard. I can pull these things on right up to the booties and step on this cardboard. Oops. There we go. And now I've got my dry suit just about half on. So now that I've got my booties on my feet, and if you're laughing at me for being a grown man who said booties like a lot of times, booties, 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 the booties, booties. I don't care. Booties is a funny word, and that's actually the term that you use to talk about the feet in these dry suits. So now, before I try and hoist this thing up around and over my head, I'm gonna put my boots on, so that way I'm not worried about accidentally stepping on any of these rocks. And you just put your boots on the same way you would if you weren't wearing a dry suit. For me, I've got big beefy calves, so I have to make sure that I've got a little bit of slack in the toe like this, so that when I pull my boots on, it doesn't pull too much on the seam where the booties are attached to the inside of the leg to create that waterproof seal. And then I can just tighten the strap at the top of the boot. I can tuck my extra lace in here, and then I can just pull this down a little bit. And there, that's it. That's all there is to it. And then I can tighten up this Velcro strap here, and that keeps that booty and my NRS boundary boot nice and tight. And I'll do the same thing with the other one. So that's that. Now I got my boundary boots on. I'm actually going to change out of the sweater and put my puffy on, because you got to make sure you're layered properly underneath your dry suit, because that's what keeps you warm when you're out on the water in this temperature. All right, now I got my puffy on. I'm going to make sure that the collar is folded down, because it's not going to matter when I've got the gasket over my neck. Now, this is the trickiest part for me and for a lot of people. Trying to get in to this. Okay, so now I'm at this point where I'm ready to start putting my arms through. And instead of sliding my arm all the way through first, I'm gonna just get my fingers out, just enough so that I can manipulate some of this stuff. And you'll see why in a second. I'm gonna do it with both my hands. So now I've got my arms in the sleeves. Take my hat off. Very gently put my head through the neck gasket. And now I've got this big open spot here, and the zipper is all the way over here. Impossible to get enough leverage with how much slack there is in this dry suit to get this thing to actually go. So this is why you don't put your hands through the sleeve all the way just now. So I'm gonna pull my hand back into this sleeve. I'm gonna pull it tight like this, grab the zipper, pull it like that. Then I'm gonna reach behind me, grab the zipper the rest of the way, and then pull the material tight, making sure that I don't have any of my underlayer, my puffy, stuck up in the zipper. Oops. There, you can kind of see, whoops, I do have some puffy stuck in there. So that's something you gotta be careful of. Because if you pull too hard on the zipper, if it's stuck on something and you don't know, and you pull hard on the zipper, you're gonna break the seal. You're gonna rip it, you're gonna cause some damage. And then I can just pull that right over like that. And then once I get it to that point, I do the same thing. Pull my other hand into the sleeve, pull it tight, reach around with my other hand, and just like that. Now I've got my dry suit on. Make sure my neck gasket feels good. I like this neoprene. I've got this big pouch in the front open. The last step is you want to make sure you squeeze all the air out, because you see how it kind of like puffs out like that. One of the ways you can squeeze all that air out is to actually just get fully in the water and then pull your neck open, and that lets all the air, the water will push and seal up against all this stuff, and it will push all the air out of your suit. And then you close the neck gasket and you've got a nicely tightened up dry suit. For me, however, I don't want to get all the way in the water. So the way that I was taught by my friend Zach, again over at Frontenac Outfitters, is you can just open up the neck gasket like this, and then you can squeeze down. And as you do that, you're going to feel all the air kind of like just get pushed out of the suit like that. You can feel it on your ear, and give your body like a nice little hug, and that pulls the suit in nice and tight to your body. Then you let that next gasket go, and you can see that it's a lot more vacuumed into me. And that's all there is that I have to make it easy to get into a dry suit, at least a rear entry one, all by yourself. If you've got a buddy, that's way easier. You don't need to mess around with this. But if you're on your own, like I often am, it's nice to be able to do these things without having to worry about whether you're going to damage your suit or not. But the biggest takeaway is just be careful with your dry suits. Most of them are pretty tough and robust, but if you put enough stress on the right part, you will damage it. And then, you know, some of these suits can cost a lot of money, like over $1,000. This one regular price I think was $1,399 or $1,400. I got it on sale from Frontenac Outfitters for $699. I think it was $699. Yeah. And I think they actually still have one left in stock. I don't remember the size, but thanks for watching. And if you like this video, if it helped you, if it gave you some new ideas as to how you can get into your dry suits a little bit better, drop me a like and follow my channel. But I got some kayak fishing to do, so I'm going to do that. See you in the next one.